Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We are bringing you the March installment of our Shabbat at Home videos. We've brought you many excerpts from our Friday night services, and we thought today we would bring you a little bit from our Shabbat morning service. I'm joined today by sisters Helene Ehrlich-Cohen and Shelley Leshner, who are regular attendees and sometimes leaders of our Shabbat morning minyan. So we're going to give you a little snippet of what that service is like. We're going to begin with the opening words of our service, Ma Tovu, and then jump into Yismechu, our joy of Shabbat, share a little words of Torah, recite Kaddish for those who are in mourning, and end with a little sneak peek of Passover, something to get you in the right mood for the holiday that is just around the corner. So again, we'll begin with our opening words of Ma Tovu. We're just going to do the chorus of it, and when we get to Yismechu, we're just going to do the chorus and the last verse. And if you'd like to hear the full texts, please join us any Saturday morning at 10 a.m. in the chapel. Yismechu v'malchutcha, the joy of Shabbat. Again, we're just going to do the third verse of this, Zecher Lama'aseh V'Reishit. Yismechu v'malchutcha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat V'korei Onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutcha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat V'korei Onei Shabbat. Zecher Lama'aseh, Lama'aseh V'Reishit Shabbat. Zecher Lama'aseh, Lama'aseh V'Reishit Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutcha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat V'korei Onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutcha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat V'korei Onei Shabbat. For those of you who do not receive the URJ's weekly online publication, 10 Minutes of Torah, this week Rabbi Ben Spratt of Rodef Shalom in New York wrote a really beautiful piece on this week's Torah portion, Shmini, and so we'd like to share those words with you now.
What is the purpose of words? In a tradition that imagines a world realized through word and reveres scribed letters on a scroll as the sacred center of Judaism, we have a heightened need to understand the role of words. To paraphrase the linguistic philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein, words serve to create both connection and distinction in a lived experience that would otherwise be chaos. As words string together, these two functions echo forward, creating worlds of both belonging and distinction.
In the book of Leviticus, we encounter the emanation of these dual purposes embodied in sacred sacrifice. The Hebrew word for holy, kadosh, is often translated as distinct, separate, or different, even as the word for sacrifice, korban, more literally means that which makes close or draws near. The priestly purpose is to remain separate from the people while linking them to God. The sacrifices themselves mean to draw humanity and divinity close, while the definition of the sacrificial animal and the process of its offering is one of separation and distinction. We are left with a difficult duality, both in the nature of this flesh-focused practice and the priestly power paradigm. In word and in world, what is the primary purpose?
In Shmini, a parsha containing the shocking and heart-wrenching deaths of Aaron's two sons, much of the sacrificial detail is left separate and forgotten against the backdrop of tragedy. But Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev instead turns precisely to these very verses. Aaron lifted his hands toward the people and blessed them, and he stepped down after offering the purgation offering, the burnt offering, and the offering of well-being. Levi Yitzchak uses a close reading of words to reflect upon the ideal vision of power and purpose. He reflects,
There is a righteous person who does not draw so close to engaging with each person to bring others closer to their Creator, who only strives to strengthen himself. The divine presence does not dwell with this righteous person so much, since he lacks the linkage of the community. This is how we should understand the verses at the end of Leviticus 9. Aaron lifted his hands. That is, at first he lifted himself to be separated off and set apart from the people, to be by himself and not engage with them. Toward all the people. Up to this point he had been with the people, engaging with them, yet he now lifted himself away from the community. That is why he stepped down from offering the sin offering. He came down from his personal experience of the divine.
in other words, one path of righteousness is to focus on distinction and separateness. By removing oneself from the people and keeping away signs of the mundane, holiness may be held in isolation. In the verbs of Aaron's actions, we see him taking such a path, holding ecclesiastical power apart and unengaged from the collective. But this, offers Levi Yitzchak, is a lower form of holiness, one which divinity is not fully present. In contrast, he says,
The divine presence essentially comes to dwell on a person when one leads the people and engages with each and every one, seeking to create connection with the blessed Creator, each and every one according to his or her level. Then, through the merit of the entire community reaching together towards teshuvah, or turning, the Holy One causes the divine presence to dwell with us. This higher form of holiness is suggested by the subsequent verse. Moses and Aaron went inside the tent of meeting and came out. That is, they came out of the place they had been before, separated and apart from the people, only now to engage with them. The merit of the community brought about the indwelling of divinity even more than when they had been separated off and distinguished from the community.
our highest form of holiness is realized when an individual links herself or himself to a collective. In moving from isolation to integration, from distinction to connection, God comes to dwell. In a world in word, the primary purpose and highest holiness is that of connectedness. Our sages believed that Torah went even beyond the written words of our scroll. Rabbanan Yochanan ben Zakkai was hailed for a wisdom that drew not only from biblical and rabbinic text, but also from the calendar, the conversations of both angels and demons, the dialogue of palm trees, the parables of laundry workers, the stories of foxes, and all matters both great and small. In stepping beyond the bounds of the Beit Midrash, beyond the words of rabbinic distinction, our sages found wisdom in witnessing the voices of flora and fauna, laborers and fables. Indeed, wisdom was the weaving of words from all sources, believing and discovering that truly Torah is everywhere. In word, in world, the highest form of learning is that of connection.
As the Israeli writer Amos Oz reflected, "No man is an island," wrote the great Don. The novelist among us adds, True, no man is an island, but we are all peninsulas, partially on our own, surrounded by the dark waters, and partially linked to a continent, to other peninsulas, to the plural noun. This truth is deeper than Jewish. It is universal. We are all given our identities by other persons and by other things. We are named by everything we ever knew and by everything we ever did.
In our positions of power, in our daily dealings, in our practices and rituals, may we reach towards a higher holiness, one in which our primary purpose sees word and world as opportunity for connection, for it is there God chooses to dwell.
Amen.
Amen.
We turn now to the sacred words of our Kaddish, and we think about all of those who we've lost in recent days, weeks, and months, and those who we've lost at this time in seasons past. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, V'chayechon u'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'bizman kariv yimru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kedusha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'yalma v'yimru Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories ever come to be an abiding blessing. We're going to leave you with a little sneak peek for Passover. Please join us on April 20th for our Passover festival service for the first day, or that night for our second Seder here hosted at Mainline Reformed Temple. Die, die, enu, die, die, enu, die, die, enu, die, enu, die, enu, die, enu, die, die, enu, die, die, enu, die, die, enu, die, enu, die, enu. Ilu natan lanu et ha-Shabbat, natan lanu et ha-Shabbat, dayenu, 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 dayenu. Shabbat shalom.